Breaking news coming to you live from the North Pole. This is Jesse Jingle from Elf Network News here to give you the latest. Reporting right outside the crime scene where Mr. Claus was mysteriously murdered this afternoon. With just mere hours before Christmas, the town has been in both shock and panic from his death. Mrs. Claus was at the crime scene at the time of death and called and notified the North Pole Police of the murder subsequently after the event occurred. Authorities have identified the murder weapon to be a candy cane. Luckily, North Pole Police was able to recover DNA evidence from the weapon in the crime scene. Right now, we have 4 suspects held in custody here at the North Pole County Jail. Miss Claus, who is the wife of Mr. Claus, Buddy the Elf, who lives in the same household as the Clauses, but authorities are unsure of the relation to the Clauses at this moment, the Grinch, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Police requested fingerprint samples from each of the suspects in order to run a fingerprint analysis against the evidence that was left at the crime scene. DNA was collected, then amplified for 2 different VNTR loci, which were ran on 2 different gels, resulting in a DNA fingerprinting analysis gel that officials could use to compare the sample from the scene, with Mr. Claus's DNA and the 4 suspects' DNA. The North Pole Police are assessing both loci to make it easier to see which suspect's DNA matches up with a sample and eventually find out who committed the murder of Mr. Claus. A suspect is deemed guilty if their DNA matches the samples of DNA perfectly at both of the loci. In loci A, the DNA evidence matches results from both Buddy the Elf and the Grinch. Some of the other suspects may have one band that matches the sample. However, this does not mean that they are guilty because both bands have to match each band of the sample for them to be considered as guilty of the crime. That is why Mrs. Claus and Rudolph are not consistent with leaving the DNA evidence behind at the crime scene when looking at this loci. Looking at loci B, both Mrs. Claus and the Grinch present DNA results that perfectly match the DNA evidence from the scene. Buddy the Elf and Rudolph do not have results in loci B that are consistent with the DNA evidence. Rudolph has been released from custody as he did not have 2 matching alleles for either locus. Mrs. Claus and Buddy the Elf have also been released from custody. Even though both of the suspects had 2 matching alleles in one loci, they did not have 2 matching alleles in both loci, which excludes them from being guilty of murder. The Grinch has been found guilty after authorities confirming that his DNA fingerprint analysis matched both alleles of both loci A and B to the DNA evidence. The Grinch is now arrested and behind candy bars for the murder of Mr. Claus. Breaking news. Authorities have discovered that Buddy the Elf is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Each of the bands at hand represents a DNA loci. One allele is passed down from the mother and one allele is passed down from the father. It is evident that in loci A that Buddy the Elf's lower banded allele matches his father's, Santa Claus, and his upper banded allele was inherited from his mother, Mrs. Claus. The same can be seen in loci B. Workshop Intel still plans to have a successful Christmas delivery tomorrow with Buddy the Elf as the new Santa, and now everyone can get a good night's sleep with the Grinch behind bars.